I'm Sherilyn McElroy, and this is Romantic Romps. Welcome, everyone, to another audible podcast of Romantic Romps, where guests share their stories of love and how it changed their lives. Today, I'm in the studio with Riley O'Keefe, and this is my second interview with her. Good morning, Riley.
What's good about it? I'm old. Oh, I'm just yanking your chain. I'm as fine as frog's hair split two ways.
Excellent. My listeners are anxious to hear your story. Are you ready to tell it?
I am if you'll stop talking. Good God Almighty, woman, let me start before I turn another year older.
By all means, Riley, be my guest.
Okay, I'll get started now. Is everybody ready? Wonderful. Okay, here's the beginning of my story. My stars and garters, who ever thought an old woman like me could jot down her life story and a year later turn it into a whole cotton-picking book? I did, kind of. I only wrote 5 years' worth because my fingers wore out. But within those 5 years are the best and worst times of my life. I'm not sure why I created such a manuscript in the first place, other than it's the diary I never made as a youth. Besides, now as a resident in the Golden Spires Assisted Living Facility, I will need reading material when my brain goes south. It will be like reading a romantic story whose main character's name is the same as mine. I will relive the shock and awe all over again from a reader's point of view, not as the one who experienced it. So that explains that. Now, I suspect you are chomping at the bit to know what happened to a sassy, hip chick like me that caused me to move to Golden Spires. 2 things. One had to do with ineptness, not my own, you understand, but that of the nitwit bagger at the grocery store who packed 3 delicate artichokes at the tippy top of my paper grocery bag. Her failure to secure the vegetables caused one to pop out, and while lunging to save it, I lost my balance and fell flat on my face. And just so you know, carrying 3 bags to my car on my own instead of using a shopping cart had nothing to do with my unfortunate circumstance. Nothing at all. Then some asshole called an ambulance. Since entering the age of wizards and Methuselah, I have tried my best to avoid hospitals. All those people wearing color-coded outfits, uniforms, or whatever they're called, running in and out all day and night, poking and prodding, nearly drove me crazy. Especially that one lady who had a silk rose pinned to her pocket. It was red, and you know what that color means, don't you? Yes, indeedy. It's the color of blood, and all she wanted to do was stab needles into my arm for no other reason than to lust for that life-sustaining fluid. Damn vampire! To add insult to injury, doctors couldn't speak simple English. Oh, no. They used jargon filled with unintelligible terminologies. They told me I had a femoral fracture that occurred in the proximal end of my femur. What the hell? I had a broken hip, for God's sake. How hard was that to say? After weeks of rehabilitation, I returned to my home, where 2 flights of stairs greeted me. In going up and down them, I might as well have been climbing Mount Everest. With each step, my hip and pride hurt when realizing my body was falling apart. The second reason I moved was the fault of the Department of Motor Vehicles. They revoked my driver's license just because I didn't read the teeny weeny letters correctly in the eye machine. If they had made the letters bigger, I could have read them. It must be a government ploy to get old people off the roads. Anyway, I couldn't drive my candy apple red Mercedes, and I faced the exhaustive and painful climb of Mount Everest within my home. I stressed my brain to come up with a solution around this fiasco, and this was the only choice I came up with. Sell my car, put the house I had lived in for 60 years on the market, and move to Golden Spires. And now you know the 2 reasons why I moved to an assisted living facility. Oh, by the way, I am prone to swearing from time to time. I try to keep the words incarcerated in my mind like my mother, adopted mother actually, but just mother to me, taught me to do. But sometimes circumstances dictate my using them with voracity. I apologize in advance if it offends you. Now, here are the 2 perks to living here. One is I don't have to cook anymore. Good thing, too. At home, I was a terrible cook. Whatever entree I had in the oven or on the stove ended up charred, creating eye-burning, nose-prickling, throat-gagging smoke that hung thick against the ceiling. At least I had transoms in my house to pull that choking vapor out. The second perk is the 4 o'clock happy hour every afternoon except Sunday. No problem, because on that day I invite a few neighbors to my all-inclusive single-room apartment where we drink red wine I have hidden in the far back of a cabinet, or white wine tucked behind the orange juice bottle in my relatively small refrigerator. Oh, listen to me. I have been rambling on about how good it is living at Golden Spires instead of telling you about writing my memoir. So, back to the task at hand. Unlike many of my generation, I am computer literate, which is another good thing. At the age of 86, when I started this massive project, my gnarly fingers could never have held a pencil to write anything, much less a 200-page manuscript. I could, however, tap, tap, tap away at the computer keys. When it came time to see the real thing on paper, I pressed the print button and joined my friends in the game room at the other end of the hall for a riveting round or 2 of Rumacube. An hour later, I returned to my apartment to find a disorganized mass of white pages littering the carpet. It was my manuscript. What happened, you asked? I forgot to pull out the page extender on the printer. Oh, thank God, my mother's antique cedar chest lay a few steps away, and I plopped my tush on it. In shock at my stupidity, I thought about how to pick up the mess without having a heart attack. Nothing came to mind, so I bent over 1,000,000 times and snatched the pages off the floor. What kind of idiot forgets to pull out the paper tray? Only a goddamned old forgetful one, that's what! If that wasn't bad enough, the scrawny scarecrow in the apartment next door heard my unladylike language and peeked in my door. "Is everything all right in there, dearie?" she asked me. "Oh, sure," I barked, smart aleck that I am. I wanted to play 52 pickup, so I threw a stack of papers into the air to see how long it would take me to pick them up. "Oh, and how long did it take?" she asked with sweet abandon. In my rage, I slammed the door in her face, fished out the bottle of Cabernet from its hiding place, and took a swig. Forget the glass. That day nearly killed me, but it didn't. I've been through much worse, as you will discover when I read my manuscript. Speaking of which, the events in this memoir are important to me. I even gave it a title, The Life of Riley. Yes, I took the name of the 1950s television situation comedy, but it fits here too. My name is Riley O'Keefe, and this is my story.